Marks Watson, MTC Media here with Notre Dame's instant reaction. They lose to Texas A&M 41-40 at home. Notre Dame has lost both of their games essentially on the final possession at the end of the game. And obviously, the thing that's going to jump out, well, several things that jump out. The first thing is just like in the Miami game. I don't know what happens in the first half with Chris Ash's defensive calls, but against Miami and against Texas A&M in the first half, the defense frankly has looked clueless. You don't have guys in the right spot. Guys are running wide open. Once again, they were eviscerated by a speedy wide receiver who works their way into the slot, gets on a nickel back, and I don't want to sit here because even though I know people are going to say they get paid now and stuff like that, I don't want to sit here and crush players who are in college. But Carson Hobbs was picked on all night, and frankly, he wasn't good. And he had a chance to have an interception, frankly, that would have sealed the game. He couldn't catch that either. He couldn't cover all night. He was really, really bad. And I don't know if that's because Chris Ash is not putting him in the right positions to succeed. Is it as a sophomore, he's just not ready yet? Is it that the pass rush is not getting there consistently? I don't know what it is, but it was obvious that Texas A&M had identified him and said, just go at him. Let's manipulate and get him on number one, and then just either drag him across the field or just run by him. And they did it all night. And because the defense has been so bad, the offense has to be perfect. You know, people are going to criticize C.J. Carr for the interception. It was a terrible interception. He could have ran for the first down, to be frank with you. But you're asking a freshman to do a lot of things that if the defense has a pulse in the first half at either one of those games, you don't have to ask him to do. And that's part of the problem. Al Golden left, of course. Al Golden back in the NFL, can't blame him. But the truth of the matter is that did Notre Dame get the right defense coordinator to replace him? I think that is a legitimate question. You know, people are going to want to blame the kids, but truth of the matter is, did they hire the right defense coordinator? Because he's been terrible. And Notre Dame's expectations coming from Bawaka and on is that they expect to compete for national championships. And you can't do that. Notre Dame's in the same boat as Clemson. You know, you can't lose your first two games basically on last plays. In Clemson's case, they had one in between where they beat Troy. But they lost to LSU and Georgia Tech essentially on the last play of the game, and same thing for Notre Dame. You know, they essentially lost the first two games on the last play of the game. And, you know, I put it on the coaching staff. I don't understand on 4th and 1 why you go empty, have Jeremiah Love playing in a quarterback position, and you ran that play about 8 or 9 times tonight, and then you run it on 4th and 1 towards C.J. Carr, who's in the slot. He's not going to throw a block. Like, why do you do that? This is what I mean. And again, last year you would have gotten away with it because the defense was good enough that there were things that you didn't have to do. You also had a quarterback who had to be respected in the run game, so teams didn't crash in, teams didn't react as aggressively as they react now. That's why people are on top of Love. That's why people are on top of Jadarian Price. And, you know, I don't understand. You knew this all summer. You waited late to pick a starting quarterback. You knew it all summer that this is probably how people would play you. The offensive line has not been mauling people. Not at all. And at times they looked embarrassingly bad against Texas A&M. Embarrassingly bad. And again, it's the first half. So, you know, again, I know people want to kill Tyler Buckner, but I want to know why Denbrock wanted to go to that play at that time on 4th down and some of the plays in the first half. I don't know what Chris Ash is doing in the first 30 minutes of games. But what it's doing is putting Notre Dame behind an 8 ball with a leeway that a year ago that they had that they don't have this year. They knew with a freshman quarterback that you weren't going to have the leeway. They knew that because of your running backs that you were going to see a lot of 8-man fronts. You knew that before the season started. You knew it. You knew. Now, the one thing they can't control is scheduling. Because maybe if your first 2 games are against, Central Michigan and Maine, you work out all these things. But your first 2 games wasn't against cupcakes. They were against 2 ranked opponents. So you weren't going to get the leeway and the runway to break, really truly work out some of these things. So tonight's loss is a crushing one. The loss to Miami shouldn't have been a loss. This one tonight definitely should have been a loss. Notre Dame mailed it away with some stunningly incompetent things tonight. They were a poorly coached football team tonight. And that was something you didn't say last year. It's Marcus Washington, MTC Media.